This woman is the criminal who shattered every notion of safety and trust within her community. Today, you'll uncover the chilling case of Sandra Cantu, a young girl's life taken in the most brutal way by someone she should have been able to trust. How could a Sunday school teacher become a cold-blooded murderer? What drove Melissa Huckaby to commit such a heinous act against an innocent child? As we dive deep into this tragic story, you'll learn about Sandra's last moments, the shocking discovery that stunned the nation, and the motives that still baffle investigators to this day. Let's get started. The disappearance of a child remains one of the greatest fears a parent can endure. Statistics reveal that 8 million children vanish globally each year, equating to 22,000 children daily. In the U.S., where today's story unfolds, a child is reported missing every 90 seconds. And over 58,000 of these cases involve abductions by strangers. Many such cases have tragic endings, devastating not only the families but also entire communities and even the nation. Sandra Cantu, born on March 8, 2001, was the daughter of a Hispanic couple, Maria Chavez and Daniel Cantu. Sandra resided with her mother, grandparents, and 3 older siblings, 2 sisters, aged 20 and 11, and a 15-year-old brother. They lived in a trailer park called Orchard Estates, comprising about 100 homes, known for being a safe, family-friendly environment in the city of Tracy. Sandra's father, Daniel, resided in Mexico and maintained minimal contact with her. Tracy, a city of around 80,000 residents in Northern California, is a suburb of the San Francisco Bay Area. About 70% of its workforce commutes to Silicon Valley, home to many leading tech firms. Despite this, Tracy retains its agricultural roots, cultivating crops like tomatoes, alfalfa, and peaches. It had a population of only 15,000 in the 1970s, but the expansion of the Bay Area drove its growth in both popularity and population. Sandra's family had made their home in Tracy. Sandra, a second grader at Melville S. Jacobson Elementary School, was a cheerful, innocent, and sociable child with long, light brown hair streaked with golden highlights from spending time outdoors. She loved visiting friends in the neighborhood, doing cartwheels, reading children's books, and talking about her favorite character, Hannah Montana. On Friday, March 27, 2009, Sandra, then 8, came home around 4 p.m. after spending time at a friend's house. After checking in with her family, she said she was heading to another friend's house. It was common for neighborhood children to play at one another's homes and around the park's open areas, which included a basketball court and swimming pool. However, as the evening wore on and Sandra didn't return for dinner as expected, her family grew worried. They soon discovered that the friend Sandra mentioned visiting wasn't home. At 7:53 p.m., Sandra's family called 911, reporting her disappearance to the local police. The officers initiated their search from the family's residence and gradually expanded to the surrounding neighborhood. Surveillance footage from a nearby camera captured Sandra crossing the street in front of her home, which was aired nationwide to aid in locating her. Despite a thorough search of the mobile home complex and extensive interviews with residents, no clues emerged. The FBI joined the search effort over the weekend of March 28th to 29th, deploying police dogs, horseback teams, off-road vehicles, and a helicopter from the California Highway Patrol. The extensive search, involving over 250 personnel from 13 agencies, also included divers searching a nearby lake, but no clues were found. Agents conducted door-to-door inquiries, checking every vehicle in the area, despite never halting their efforts and offering a $22,000 reward for any information. Sandra's whereabouts remained unknown. The first suspect in Sandra's disappearance was a local man named Frank Holder, who had been seen behaving inappropriately with her 2 years prior at a local swimming pool when Sandra was just 6 years old. In 2007, Sandra's grandmother witnessed Frank, then in his 60s, push Sandra's hair aside and kiss her on the lips. The incident was reported to the authorities at that time. With Sandra now missing, Holder was questioned by investigators, but he claimed he had no involvement in her disappearance. explaining that the earlier kiss was meant to be a friendly gesture. The police seized several of his belongings as part of their investigation. Detectives also interviewed Sandra's father, Daniel Cantu, who lived in Mexico and had minimal contact with his daughter, not having seen her for over a year. The tragic discovery. 10 days after Sandra vanished on April 6, 2009, farm workers drained a reservoir located a few miles from Sandra's neighborhood as part of their routine biannual maintenance. During this operation, a shocking discovery was made. A suitcase lay at the bottom of the pond, measuring roughly 150 meters long and 30 meters wide. Inside the suitcase was Sandra's body, curled in a fetal position. The little girl was still dressed in the same outfit she wore when last seen, a Hello Kitty t-shirt given to her by a neighbor for her birthday and black pants. This devastating crime sent shockwaves throughout the community of Tracy, leaving Sandra's family utterly heartbroken. For days, people placed flowers, candles, posters, and stuffed animals around the neighborhood to honor Sandra's memory. An autopsy revealed that Sandra had been physically assaulted and sexually abused with a foreign object before being suffocated. Toxicology results indicated that she had consumed alprazolam, a potent sedative. The investigation also uncovered the identity of the suitcase owner. Based on their findings, FBI profilers suggested that the suspect could be a white male between 25 and 40 years old, with a criminal history involving sexual assault or child pornography, someone who abducts children for sexual purposes before killing them. The initial focus of the investigation was on all the male residents of the trailer park. However, attention soon shifted to an unexpected suspect, Melissa Huckaby, the owner of the suitcase containing Sandra's body. Playing in the enemy's house. Melissa Huckaby was born on February 23, 1981, in Orange County, California, as the eldest of 9 grandchildren. At the time of Sandra's disappearance, she was 28 years old and volunteered as a Sunday school teacher at Tracy Baptist Church, where her grandfather served as pastor. Having grown up in Southern California, she often traveled between Tracy and Orange County. Following high school, she faced many challenges, struggling to secure stable employment. In 2002, Melissa obtained a restraining order against a former boyfriend, whom she accused of harassment, making death threats, and assaulting her grandfather. However, she put this chapter behind her and, in August 2003, married Johnny Huckaby while 5 months pregnant. That same year, she declared bankruptcy, having accumulated debts totaling $26,300, primarily from medical and credit card expenses. Her struggles persisted as her relationship with Johnny fell apart. They separated in August 2004, finalizing their divorce in September 2005. Melissa accused Johnny of kidnapping their daughter and domestic violence, allegations that he strongly denied. Ultimately, Melissa was granted full custody of their daughter, Madison. Melissa was known to be a devoted mother with a strong religious upbringing. During this period, she resided in Southern California, where she worked as an event planner while studying criminology at a community technical college. She was an avid fan of crime television series, especially the well-known show Law and Order. Despite outward appearances, Melissa led a solitary life marked by mental health struggles, including borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia, as described by her family. She often faced difficulties raising her daughter alone and experienced bouts of depression. Melissa also had a history of self-harm, specifically cutting her ankles as a coping mechanism. Her prescribed medications included benzodiazepines, amphetamines, an antidepressant and furosemide, a diuretic for heart and blood pressure conditions. In 2007, Melissa became a person of interest in 2 arson investigations in La Palma, California, roughly 300 miles from Tracy, though she was never formally charged. In June 2008, her grandparents, Pastor Lonnie Lawrence and his wife Connie, requested Melissa's help with their move to Tracy. Consequently, Melissa decided to relocate back to Tracy with Madison, living in her grandparents' mobile home. Sandra Cantu resided just 5 houses away from Melissa Huckaby's home. In January 2009, a 7-year-old girl briefly disappeared within the neighborhood. The child was reported missing, prompting an intense search that lasted several hours. Melissa eventually brought the girl back home, but her condition alarmed the family. According to them, the girl was heavily sedated. She could barely whisper, cried incessantly, and could not stand or walk without assistance. Her parents immediately took her to the hospital, where tests revealed the presence of benzodiazepines in her bloodstream. Benzodiazepines are prescribed to induce sleep, relieve anxiety, and manage muscle spasms or seizures. Though the family feared possible sexual abuse, medical examinations showed no evidence of such an assault. A Tracy police officer questioned Melissa about the incident, but she reacted with outrage at the accusation. Complicating the matter, it was later revealed that the child's mother struggled with drug addiction, weakening the case against Melissa, and the investigation stalled without further leads. Another odd incident highlighted Melissa's unusual behavior. Melissa claimed to be pregnant, prompting her then-boyfriend, 37-year-old Daniel Plowman, to propose marriage. She even had a wedding dress service's phone number noted in her diary. On March 2, 2009, during a meeting at the church, Melissa offered Daniel a drink that tasted unusual to him. He drank it nonetheless, but had no recollection of the events that followed. Police later found him unconscious on a service road leading to a fast food restaurant. He awoke in jail but never pressed charges against Melissa. This event occurred roughly 3 weeks before Sandra's disappearance. On the day Sandra vanished, while the police were conducting their search, Melissa sent a text message to Maria Chavez, Sandra's mother, suggesting that she should inform the police about a supposed theft at her residence around 4 p.m. that day. Melissa indicated she wasn't sure if the information was relevant. Earlier that day, Melissa had called the manager of the trailer park to report a missing black suitcase that she claimed to have left outside her home. She later mentioned this stolen suitcase in a media interview. The following evening, during a vigil for Sandra, an emotional and tearful Melissa approached the investigators, claiming she had found a note on the ground. The message, filled with misspellings, read, "Cantu locked in a suitcase thrown into the water at Bacchetti and White House Streets." After delivering this information, Melissa unexpectedly relaxed, which caught the attention of the officers present. At the time of Sandra's murder, Melissa was on probation for a 2006 burglary in Los Angeles. However, she had no documented history of violent behavior. Just 2 days before Sandra's body was found, Melissa checked herself into a hospital, claiming she had accidentally swallowed a leaf while walking. This was later suspected to be a covert suicide attempt. Before Sandra's body was discovered, Melissa was not seriously considered a suspect. Her erratic behavior was thought to be attention-seeking, and there was insufficient evidence connecting her to Sandra's disappearance. Everything changed when Sandra's body was found inside the suitcase Melissa had reported stolen. Investigators began scrutinizing Melissa's actions more closely. A crucial lead emerged when a retired Marine and his wife informed the police that they had seen Melissa and her vehicle near the irrigation pond on their property at Bacchetti and Wild Streets between 5:30 and 6 p.m. on March 27th. They recognized Melissa from television coverage and noted that she seemed agitated and in a hurry. She had told them she stopped there urgently to relieve herself. Police then reviewed the surveillance footage from outside Sandra's house, revealing that Sandra was walking towards Melissa's residence at 3:54 p.m. on March 27th. The surveillance camera captured Melissa's van heading in the opposite direction just 8 minutes after Sandra was last seen walking towards her house. Shortly after, Melissa called the neighborhood manager to report her missing suitcase. Around 5:30 p.m., another surveillance camera in the church parking lot recorded Melissa driving toward the irrigation pond, and about 30 minutes later, she was seen returning.
Do you want to play poker fully anonymous from anywhere in the world? Whether you're in the USA, Canada, China, or beyond, join Free Roll Hunter on Club GG Poker. Enjoy fast deposits and withdrawals in crypto. Dive into a variety of games including NL Hold'em, PLO5, Omaha, and more. Take advantage of our great Rakeback program to boost your earnings. Don't miss our daily tournaments for a chance to win big. Click the link in the pinned comments and description to start playing today.
New evidence at the church. The FBI conducted a thorough search of the church, where they discovered a metal rolling pin in the kitchen that was stained with blood and had a bent handle. DNA analysis confirmed that the blood was Sandra's. Additionally, investigators found that the cord used to secure the suitcase was the same type as a cord missing from the blinds in the Sunday school classroom. Melissa's grandfather, Pastor Clifford Lawless, was interviewed, and several items were seized from the family's home. On a computer in the residence, authorities discovered a news article from September 2008 detailing how Israeli divers had found a suitcase containing the remains of a missing 4-year-old girl. On April 9, 2009, Melissa was discharged from the hospital at 7 a.m. Later that day, she arrived at the police station for further questioning. During a 1-hour interview, officers requested that she return the following day. On April 10th, Melissa endured 6 hours of intense interrogation. Initially calm, she eventually broke down, transitioning from composure to anguish. Finally, she admitted her involvement in Sandra's death, but concocted a complex story of an accidental death followed by panic. Melissa claimed she had been planning to take a suitcase to the church that day, but encountered Sandra, and they decided to play hide-and-seek. According to her version, she suggested Sandra hide inside the suitcase, then closed it completely. Melissa alleged that she accidentally left her keys and phone behind, got into her car, and drove to the church, completely forgetting about Sandra inside the suitcase. When she returned and opened it, she claimed to have found Sandra unresponsive. She allegedly tried to resuscitate the girl, placing a small towel on her forehead in an attempt to cool her down. Overwhelmed by panic, she then thought of disposing of the body in the reservoir. This story, however, lacked any credibility. Following her confession, Melissa was booked into the county jail. Her initial reaction was to break down in tears, but she soon regained her composure. 4 days after her arrest, she faced multiple charges: murder with special circumstances, sexual assault with a foreign object, lewd acts with a minor, and murder during a kidnapping. The prosecutor's indictment specified that Sandra's death was premeditated and occurred after she had been abused. Police believe that Sandra was heading to Melissa Huckaby's home to play, as captured by the surveillance footage, and was murdered shortly afterward. However, a motive for the heinous act remained unclear. The entire community was left in disbelief. No one could fathom that a neighborhood resident, a mother with a child who played among the other kids, could turn out to be a ruthless killer. Due to the public outrage, Melissa received death threats, prompting increased security measures during her court appearances. The trial: tears, shock, and disbelief. Melissa appeared in court for her arraignment, dressed in a red prison jumpsuit and shackled, with visible self-inflicted marks on her forehead. She was visibly distressed, crying and trembling, as the judge read the charges. The seriousness of the accusations meant she faced either the death penalty or life imprisonment without parole. During the hearing, Melissa's defense requested a psychological evaluation for her client, along with a gag order to prevent potential jury bias. Relatives of both Sandra and Melissa wept throughout the hearing, particularly during the mention of the rape charge. Melissa herself became more emotional, closing her eyes and fighting back tears. Her father, Ryan Lawless, expressed that the family was in shock and struggled to reconcile what had happened with the person they knew. Melissa's ex-husband, who had been married to her for 26 years, admitted that although she had frequently faced emotional difficulties and required medication, he never imagined her capable of such violence. After seeing her in court, He claimed he no longer recognized her and subsequently filed for custody of their daughter. He later remarried and started a new family. Melissa's refusal to state whether she was guilty or innocent during at least 3 subsequent hearings caused delays in the legal process. In June, she eventually pleaded not guilty. However, in August, the San Joaquin County District Attorney's Office added charges related to drugging the 7-year-old girl in 2007, as well as her former boyfriend. In April 2010, the defense requested a second autopsy on Sandra's body, but withdrew the request after the county medical examiner confirmed that they had preserved essential samples for independent analysis. On May 10, 2010, after nearly a year of maintaining her innocence, Melissa, then 29, changed her plea during a routine hearing at San Joaquin County Superior Court. She pleaded guilty to first-degree murder with the aggravating factor of kidnapping as part of a plea deal that dismissed additional charges of lewd acts with a minor, rape, and drugging the child and her ex-boyfriend. Melissa accepted this plea to avoid the possibility of a death sentence. Once the gag order was lifted, more details of the crime emerged. According to the pathologist's report, Sandra had been suffocated with a cloth soaked in alcohol. Investigators also discovered a blood-stained cloth tied around Sandra's head, knotted with a rope. The cause of death was determined to be homicidal asphyxiation. Court documents revealed that Melissa had taken Sandra to the church and sexually assaulted her with a foreign object, which was believed to be the rolling pin found during the search.
For violation of Penal Code Section 187, murder in the first degree of Sandra Cantu, as Ms. Huckaby pled guilty to count 1 of the indictment, you are hereby sentenced to imprisonment in the state prison for a term of 25 years to life.
Ultimately, Melissa was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. On the day of sentencing, Melissa could only say that she didn't know why she committed the crime. Tearfully, she apologized to Sandra's family, admitting that she owed them an explanation, but still could not comprehend her own motives. Sobbing, she expressed regret for taking Sandra away from them, acknowledging that she would have to live with the fact that she had killed a sweet, innocent child. Melissa denied sexually assaulting Sandra, telling Maria Chavez, Sandra's mother, that the child did not suffer and that there was no sexual abuse, pleading for forgiveness. She admitted, however, that she couldn't imagine forgiving someone who would harm her daughter. These claims were contradicted by the pathologist's report, which noted a cut on Sandra's lower lip, indicative of trauma. Sandra's autopsy also revealed an abrasion on her elbow and injuries to her genitals. Toxicology tests confirmed the presence of alprazolam, a sedative used to treat anxiety disorders. Both Melissa's home and her purse contained the same medication. Additionally, handwriting analysis confirmed that the note detailing the suitcase's location matched Melissa's handwriting. The underlying motive behind Melissa's crime remains a mystery. However, her history of mental illness seems significant. Melissa had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, a condition that disrupts a person's self-perception and relationships, leading to impulsivity, intense anger, and erratic mood swings. The prosecutor speculated that Melissa might have committed the murder as a form of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, an abusive behavior where a person harms another to gain attention. There was concern that Melissa's daughter, Madison, might have also been a victim, given her history of frequent hospital visits for various illnesses. According to the prosecution, Melissa engaged in at least 20 acts of self-harm, arson, or verbal and psychological attacks against others to draw attention. After Sandra's murder, Melissa indeed became the center of attention, seemingly fulfilling her desire. Another theory suggested that Melissa's crime was fueled by jealousy, as Sandra was adored by everyone, while Madison, whom Melissa cherished, did not receive the same admiration. These, however, remain mere speculations. What investigators are certain of is that Sandra's murder was premeditated. They believe Melissa's prior drugging of the 7-year-old girl and her ex-boyfriend may have been rehearsals for Sandra's murder. Melissa's case stands out not only for its brutality but also for its rarity. Female sexual predators constitute only 5% to 15% of cases. When women do engage in sexual crimes against children, they are more often accomplices than direct perpetrators. Women are generally perceived as nurturing and less threatening, making accusations of sexual abuse by women especially shocking. The U.S. Department of Justice reports that about 10% of homicides in the U.S. are committed by women. Women who kill often target people close to them, such as children, partners, or spouses. Forensic psychologists and criminal profilers indicate that female killers typically have different backgrounds and motives compared to their male counterparts. Women are often related to their victims, less likely to plan their crimes, and less prone to using extreme violence. Traditionally, women are seen as caregivers, and when they do commit murder, it is often linked to self-defense or mental illness. Sandra's case defied these norms, leaving Melissa's true motive for the crime unexplained. And so, dear viewer, we come to the end of today's tragic story. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comments below.